is really well done. It's in the Goldilocks range where it's not too crazy simplified, but it's not it's they don't sugarcoat it or they don't patronize you, but it's also not in such a written in such a way that it's too out of reach for the fundamental test. In my opinion, I like the way they did it. So you could take it like coming from another organization. You should have some kind of IT knowledge because they're gonna be mentioning things like IP addresses or whatever. But it's written in such a way that it's accessible, which I really appreciate. And Thandy over here on TikTok says, I'm not seeing people join me on TikTok for some reason. Thandy says, I'm trying to decide between your two books, NIST 800, 2-in-1 Foundations, or the RMF ISO NIST 853. I would do the 2-in-1. And if you come over to login.convocourses.com, I'll hook you up with something. Let me see. I got more on cybersecurity, GRC. Do you offer mentorship? No, I really don't have time for that, guys. Like but who does offer mentorships is there's a couple people, but the one that I've heard great things about is maybe he's on this call. Let me see. You want to go to a site called Better Everyday Cyber. So just like me, he speaks in plain English. He's not speaking academically and using a bunch of acronyms and stuff that you might not know. He's gonna explain it in a way that makes sense, that's practical. And so if you're interested in that in a mentorship, so a few people who follow me have gone to him and they've had great things to say. It's called Better. Let me show you my screen here. Better Everyday Cyber, bettereverydaycyber.com. And let me share my screen here so you guys can see. Yep, this is it right here. Change the site a little bit. Whoops. Better Everyday Cyber. And this is where you're going to sign up if you're interested. Great stuff. I've talked to him on my site before. Great dude. Love talking to him. Here's the site right here. Here's the contact us. This is GRC stuff. He's 20-year vet just like myself, been doing this a really long time. Really sharp dude. And believe he even has hands-on stuff. Yeah, this is it right here. Fundamentals, mentorship, 26 weeks. There you go right there. That's the man. Highly recommended. And let me see. There's some more conversations going on. I've been ignoring people over here. Let me just talk to. Do you offer mentorships? What should we look into training for FedRAMP? FedRAMP, let me see. Who do I know talks specifically about FedRAMP? I can give you a couple resources real quick. So FedRAMP, just so you know, while I'm reaching out to do this real quick, FedRAMP is based off of NIST 853 and 37. So NIST 853 and 37, you're going to know 90% of what you need to know about FedRAMP. That said, let me show you some really good resources for FedRAMP. FedRAMP used to have a really good site where they had templates that you can download. It looks like they changed up their stuff because they're updating to a new version of FedRAMP, by the way, FedRAMP 20X. But number one, if NIST 800, all they're doing is taking NIST 853 and they made it into to fit cloud. That's all they're doing with it. There's a couple other things that are a little bit different with it, but this site right here, they changed it recently. So give me a second here. They had a really good resource where you could download some templates. Here you go. Documents and templates. So I'm on fedramp.gov. And if you go here, they've got a bunch of guides for you. Downloadable guides on 3PAO, third party assessor. And this will give you some idea of what's going on with it. But really, so let me look. I've been hired for multiple FedRAMP gigs. And it's because I know NIST 853 and NIST 837. It's all risk management framework. The FedRAMP is just a stripped down version of risk management framework. That's the secret right there. Boom. I just let you guys all know that. Just so you know. If you risk management framework or FedRAMP. I would say the one caveat or thing to know about FedRAMP is that they have something in cloud called the shared responsibility model. And it's just when you're using cloud, you're using Amazon or Azure or Google's resources. You're using their computers, right? Which means it's on their premises, it's on their systems. And so when you're going through the controls, think about it. Some of those controls are controlled by them. Some of the security features, they control it. Example would be physical controls. So if that device is in their data center, then physically the physical security of it, the making sure the doors are locked, to make sure the windows, they have detection systems or they have a guard roaming or whatever, they have to handle that. And so you're sharing the security with them. They have one portion of the security. The cloud provider, the cloud service provider, they have one part of the security, and then you have another. The part that you have has to do with controlling the data. So that's like making sure that you control who has access to the data. Like, where is the data stored? How is it processed? How is it in transit? Are you encrypting it? When you store it, is it at rest? You control that. Amazon and Azure and all those guys, they don't control that piece. You control it. So it's a shared responsibility model. They have one part of the security and you have another part of the security. So FedRAMP kind of makes it puts it in a way that it's dealing with the shared responsibility model, and that you're only what they might do is say, okay, you have a software as a service, therefore you only have these NIST 853 controls, right? So there's NIST security controls will actually be easier. FedRAMP is much easier in some ways than what you would have with a NIST 853 system on premises, because on premises you got to worry about PE controls, environmental controls, physical security controls, and there's a bunch of other controls that you have to do. You have to do all of them, basically. You got to do all the controls. But with FedRAMP, you don't have to do all the controls. You're only doing a portion of them. That's FedRAMP. Another thing is that the federal government has a separate site where you have to log in, and some of the data for all those shared controls that are under control by another organization, they're in another place. So you got to have a sign in for that site, which requires you to have a cat card or something to get into that site or whatever, and you got to maintain that. That's probably the hardest part about FedRAMP, to be honest with you. Okay, and I'm still thinking about doing like a breakdown of FedRAMP. I probably should. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, I was thinking about. Okay, I already read that one. Okay, let's see. Definitely learned a lot about AI going through the Azure AI course. That's exactly what I was thinking about. Now I want to learn hands-on security side. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Please do a breakdown of FedRAMP. You're not the first one to say that, so I probably should. Yeah, that's something that's something I could do. Mentorship, I just don't have the time to do it. But I've done a little bit of it, but not like I should. Not like I know it has to be done. That's why I highly recommend Better Everyday Cyber, who takes time to do that. Kubernetes, maybe Sandbox. Yeah, I need to do something like that, like some kind of sandbox where I can put the AI in and then put the security features on there. That's really what I want to do. I want to set up like a system right here that people can log into right behind me or hack it or whatever. That'd be fun. That'll force me to learn. Just trying to engage in the community, showing love. Hey, thank you so much, Professor Black Ops. I appreciate you, man. Thanks, SS. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all go to Professor Black Ops YouTube channel, subscribe and follow. Yes, this dude has influenced me quite a bit. So yeah, I would highly recommend Professor Black Ops to you guys, especially you guys on TikTok. You guys don't know what you're missing. You got great information. All right, let me see here. SS says it's been a crazy market. They are lowballing like crazy. I didn't even mention that. And they want people to do multiple roles all at once. Yeah, that's what's happening. That's what's happening. I did not mention that, but that's what's so in addition to a lower amount of jobs, right? You would think that if they're hiring less people, you would get paid more. But not necessarily. So they're hiring less people and then they're lowballing people. You get in there and then you're doing double the work. That's what's happening. It's just the whole thing has changed. And I don't know what's going on because they need security people. They're not going to do this. You're not going to have a system without security. It seems like some organizations are just more willing to take a risk because of the cutbacks that are happening. They basically have to. And my theory is what's happening is several things are happening at once. I do think the AI has some kind of an impact, but I think it's oversimplified on TV saying, oh, AI is taking all the jobs. I think that what's happening is the big guys the big blue chip IT tech bros like Google and Meta and all those guys, right? Who who have a big sway over the market. I think what's happening is they are not necessarily replacing jobs with AI directly. What they're doing is they're reallocating their money to buy more data centers because there's this race to make as many data centers as possible for AI. Because this is my theory based on what I'm seeing and being in this market. I'm just speculating. There's a race to fulfill the world's AI appetite. And in the US is the hub of all this. The US and China are the hub for satisfying the world's AI fix. ChatGPT, Anthropic, Google AI, Gemini, and Grok. And then you got DeepSeek, Quinn, and several other Chinese company. And then there's some in Europe too. But they're all right now, they're the only guys in the market, the major guys in the market satisfying anybody who's online who's just starting to figure out what's going on with AI and using it. It's useful, it's super useful. They have to build more infrastructure to satisfy that need. So what's happening is in order to make that data center, they need billions of dollars, like 10 billion, 30 billion, whatever, to make 15 different data centers or 5 different whatever in different states and different countries and all over the place, right? They've got them in UAE, you've got them in Europe, you've got them, they're making them in Australia, in all over the US, in Canada. They're making them everywhere. And in order to do that, they need capital to do it. Yeah, Oracle cutting jobs for AI data centers. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So Oracle's in there too. Oracle, Alibaba, Tencent, all these big guys, they're making data centers. In order to do that, they cut in jobs. They're saying, okay, we're going to cut 3% of our staff so we can take that money and put it into data centers so that we can. And I think what'll happen is eventually that'll rebalance to where they have to hire people back for those data centers. And so what's happening, what I noticed is that there are jobs for data centers. If you live near a data center, they're hiring people near those data centers, right? They're hiring people near those data centers to do those data center jobs. So it's like there's being like a restructuring. The whole narrative about AI taking jobs, I think that might happen maybe in 10 years. Like I think that is a possibility, but we're talking and you notice like when Dario Amodei from Anthropic or the more reasonable people, when they mention it, they're saying, hey, and this is a problem within the next 10 years, within 7. Now, don't get me wrong, 10 years is not that far from now, especially when it comes to our entire economy. It's like a blink of an eye. So that is a concern. But like right now, it's the data centers. They're restructuring things to buy more data centers. And another thing that's happening, of course, is the political side of it. This dude has flipped the entire thing upside down. The whole world order is being flipped. Who knows where it's going to land? everything has changed because, I don't know, tariffs, Doge, just randomly shuffling kicking companies out because he doesn't like them. Man, the last organization I was at, they found out that they were hiring people who were related to them. They were getting rid of organizations, contractors, and then renegotiating with people who were related to them. Right? They didn't fire, I don't even want to go that route. It's bad, y'all. It's bad, man. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad, man. So there's the political aspect of it where there everything's changing around, which is definitely impacting the economy in a not a good way. And then there's the data centers that they're switching out. I think those are the two main things, right? I think those are the two main things. And probably the debt, like they just took on like $5 trillion more of debt. That's not going to help. I think that's the reason why we're in this slump right now. Like it was starting to get better, and then all these things start happening all at once. And the people in power don't have no like political will to change it just yet. I think that's going to change here, just like here real soon. I think it will, but even if the change right now, it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years to change everything back to where it was. If they even do that, I don't know. Unless you have a specific unique skill set, you're looking at lower rates. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that is absolutely correct. That's what's happening in the market. It was difficult. Even for me, it's one of the most difficult times I've had in this job market in recent memory. Do you think cybersecurity functions like GRC, SOC, network security, and DevSecOps will be consolidated into one role, such as DevSecOps security engineer in the coming years? I heard it on TikTok. So, what I'm seeing right now, to that point, what I'm seeing right now is, and I would love to talk about this further, but I really I want to do this justice. But something for GRC called GRC Engineering is happening. And this was coined by somebody named AJ Yan. This dude works where I work. So I want to give him his props for sure. So this guy right here, let me show you guys my screen. When I heard the phrase for the first time, it clicked. I'm like, yep, that's exactly right. That's what's happening. So I hadn't heard this phrase GRC engineering until I heard it from AJ Yan. This guy works where I work, by the way. Yeah, I just found that out too. This is exactly what's happening. Governance, risk, and compliance for the cloud era. And what this means